In Europe and America, there's a growing feeling of hysteria. We are conditioned to respond to all the threats in the rhetorical speeches of the Soviets. But like the musician Sting of the 1980s, I don't subscribe to that hysteria. However, it seems the Sting of the 2020s does. In 1985, Sting released Russians. It's a great song, one that I have loved from the day it was first released some 35 years ago. To me and to the Sting of 1980s, the song is about cutting through all the rhetoric of war that both sides are guilty of. To not believe just one side is to blame, but to reach out to the other side with respect and with the intention of understanding the other's point of view. It's a song that reminds us we in the West should not believe the propaganda spewed out by our media any more than Russians should believe propaganda on their side. There is no one side at fault, no good guys versus the bad guys. There is no monopoly of common sense on either side of the political fence. In 2022, it seems nothing has changed when it comes to politics and propaganda. Looking through the news of Western media, the rhetoric is all one-sided. Putin is evil. Zelensky is saintly. In the Russian media, the pure opposite. Fake news on both sides claiming a monopoly of common sense. And although the politics and propaganda haven't changed, it seems Sting has. In March 2022, Sting released a new version of the song Russians. In the introduction of this new version, the Sting of the 2020s adds to the growing feeling of hysteria by calling Putin a brutal tyrant and describing Ukraine as a peaceful country. Sting of the 1980s knew how this type of talk only adds lyrics to the drumbeat of war. I no longer live in the West. I'm no longer conditioned to respond to the threats and rhetorical speeches from either side. In Morocco, where I live now, the news media and political stance is far more balanced when it comes to the Ukrainian conflict. For sure, there is blame dished out to Putin. How could there not be? He's invaded another country. But equally, and I do mean equally, there is blame on the West for breaking its promise to Russia over NATO and for ignoring the problems in the Ukraine that have been evident since 2013 at least. There is blame on President Zelensky for failing to address the widespread corruption in his country and for failing to address the fighting in the eastern region of the Ukraine, something he based his electoral campaign on. Whilst we should confront our enemies that we can't avoid, the confrontation doesn't have to be an increase in violence. As Sting once said, it takes more than combat gear to make a man, more than a license for a gun. Yet the Sting of 2022 says nothing about the weaponizing of Ukraine by Western government. Sting says nothing about Zelensky's desire for even more military hardware that will flood into his country, creating greater instability and more bloodshed. Sting of 2022 says nothing of the Russian children so loved by their parents but now suffering under Western economic sanctions. Doesn't Sting love Russian children too? Weaponizing the Ukraine and imposing sanctions on Russia is not going to bring about the defeat of Putin, and it's not going to end the conflict in the Ukraine. The solution to the Ukrainian conflict is political. It is not confronting violence with violence. On its first release in the 1980s, the song Russians was criticized by some for being too pro-Soviet, too sympathetic to the idea that conflict, division and hatred were not the answer. It dared to wonder if West-East political division was a bad thing. Because of the song, I dared to wonder that too. I understood the lyrics of the song Russians. That understanding was one of my first steps on the long journey towards the realization that we are all being fooled. We are all being manipulated. Now Sting is using the song and his high-profile status to say the exact opposite of that, which is sad because Russians is a great song with a very powerful and truthful message. There is no such thing as a winnable war. And what might save the Ukraine is if Sting understood his lyrics too.